here on my screen anyway. On the left, we've got Reuben Wakeman from Toys of Bond.
Evening.
And we've got Dan Booth on the bottom left there, who is the guitarist for Cue the Music.
Hiya.
And these two gentlemen really need no introduction on the Cue the Music stream, to be honest. We've got Joe Darlington of Being James Bond and David Zaritsky of The Bond Experience.
Hello, hello.
Well, while you wait for your esteemed guests, we'll fill in.
Yeah. So we're going to kick things off straight away with a bit of music just to get everybody in the mood. And we've got a choice from Joe, first of all. Joe, what have you picked and why?
I picked The Living Daylights, and honestly, I sort of allowed myself to just kind of shut off overthinking and why do I literally just, when you asked, it was the first one that came to mind, and I said, you know what, I just really love that one. And that's one that I can honestly say I've probably listened to it most in my life. I mean, like, I can remember being in college, you know, talking late 80s, a little into the early 90s, I guess. And I used to listen to that soundtrack all the time.
Yeah.
Whenever it was autumn weather, there was just something about that score for me that just kind of worked. I mean, walking across campus at school, the leaves are turning color, and that score just worked because it really did sort of just carry me to some other part of the world. And the theme song, The Living Daylights, again, I don't know what it is. There are other songs that are more Bondish, that are kind of big and brassy, loud, a little more adrenaline kickers. This one for me, it's just so nuanced. There's something about this one. I love the lyrics. I just love the sound of it. It just works for me. You know, it's a great soundtrack for life.
Yeah. Well, let's hear the song. We'll chat a little bit more about it afterwards, but let's kick things off with Living Daylights. Here we go.
Hey, driving, where we going? I swear my nerves are showing. Set your hopes up way too high. The living's in the way we die.
Comes the morning and the headlines fade away. 100,000 people, I'm the one they pray. I've been waiting long for one of us to say.
And we're back. So, good old Living Daylights. I have to say, Joe, this is a song that I really, really love actually as well. And it's one that I enjoy playing probably more than I even enjoy listening to it, because there's such a great vibe. And actually for me, a lot of it's a great choice, and first up as well, because a lot of the vibe for this song comes from the guitar for me. Guitar and drums, because you get that real semi-quaver 80s disco sort of programmed disco feel. And it's something that you and I have worked on a fair bit since you joined, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I find that kind of playing, like, you have to have a lot of stamina for. It looks kind of easy, and in theory it is. But the stamina to just keep going the whole way through that tune, it does get to you.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, David? How's Living Daylights rank for you?
It actually ranks pretty high. The film ranks pretty high. As a matter of fact, not as a sneak peek, but I'm going to be debating Calvin because he's not a fan of the movie, and I'm a huge fan of the movie, especially Dalton's portrayal. But the sound, the song has always been a toe tapper for me. I was really happy to see Joe do it. He almost picked it like a Rorschach test too, which was very cool. It's a Skyfall moment.
Very true.
So Joe, being James Bond then now, so we're gonna give people a chance to sort of chat a little bit about what they get up to, and share the Cue the Music platform to tell people what you get up to. So, what's being James Bond for anybody watching that hasn't heard of you before? I can't believe that they wouldn't have done, but there might be one. You never know.
You never know. Being James Bond is sort of all things to all people. Sometimes we started out talking very much about the inherent abilities of James Bond and kind of exploring all of those things, because this is something I always found fascinating. The idea that James Bond could quite literally do anything you put in front of him, and he seems to be an expert at it. And my theory was like, could a regular person do this, learn this, etc. So yeah, it kind of, but it sort of evolved, and it just kind of became kind of just Bond fandom like everybody else. And I got very, very involved in doing reviews of the films, and exploring the little nooks and crannies of each one that I really like. And we kind of redid the website, and recently kind of capturing a lot of the classic stuff. I mean, again, this podcast has been going on 14, I think maybe I'm hitting 15 years now, possibly. So a lot of stuff. So the website was sort of a passion project that's finally up and running. So I'm excited about that. Hopefully people check it out.
Well, I mean, that's incredible. 14 years, the podcast. And I think I've got a feeling you're the longest running. I mean, there's so many Bond podcasts now. We're all at it. But yours is the longest running, I believe, isn't it?
I believe so. I believe anybody who I wasn't the first, but I certainly think I've kind of outlasted everybody at this point. So even if it's not the best, I at least can say it's been the longest running. So that's my claim to fame.
And what's coming up with being James Bond? What's on the menu for the coming weeks and months?
That's a great question. I tell you, the wait for No Time to Die has kind of really sort of put me into place. Like, well, what am I going to do for the next couple of months now that we got a few more months, which has been the understatement of the last few years. But I do have a couple of videos in mind that I'm working on. I swear to you that I just today was tapping on my keys, working on volume 2, trying to figure out when I can get that sucker done by. And I'm very excited to kind of, it's well underway. So I'm very happy about it. So more videos, definitely more podcasts, and a book coming.
A book. Oh, brilliant. Excellent. Excellent. Well, Reuben, let's turn to you then, because now not so many people will have heard of Toys of Bond, I think, but it's something that's been around actually for a very, very long time now as well, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. I'm a toy collector essentially. Well, it started as toys, but if you looked in the room I'm sat in currently, it's pretty much everything to do with James Bond, memorabilia wise. But I've been collecting since GoldenEye came out, so 26 years. And I've got it all up on a website and on social media, and I'm just kind of sharing my collection on a regular basis for people to see and enjoy, and try and see some things that they might not have seen before.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a lot of people will know with you from Cue the Music's point of view is, or that have seen anyway, all the amazing artwork that we put out pretty much for the last couple of years has all been done by yourself. I've sort of really lucked out when I met you, and you, well, started out as a Cue the Music supporter and offered to do a little bit, and I've been really taking advantage of that every chance I can, really. Bless
Not
you.
at all.
You've been an absolute superstar. Even the amazing header image that we had for this Concerts in the Community, with all the Dr. No inspired dots, was just amazing.
Yeah.
And you just come up with these incredible pieces of art.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I try my best.
Well, tell us a little bit about the other thing that you've got going on and have had going on for the last year or so, with these fabulous bits of artwork that are all to do with the films.
Yeah, so basically in 2019, there was 4 films that had big anniversaries that year. So I rather kind of out of my own way of a passion project, did some work for a design for On Her Majesty's Secret Service's 50th. And I put that on social media, and it got a lot of good feedback. So I decided to do the other 3 films that year. And I kind of got so much nice feedback and positivity about them. I just thought I'd set myself the challenge of doing all 24 films. And so over the past kind of 16 to 18 months, I've slowly been releasing them to the point where they're now all out, bar No Time to Die, which will be done eventually one day, and there'll be a complete set of 25.
The great thing's been every time you've released one, and you've kind of dripped them out, haven't you, over I guess over about a year, maybe a bit more than a year.
Yeah, I think it's probably about 16 months now.
Yeah, and every time one's come out, the whole sort of Bond community's just been drooling, literally, haven't we? I mean, haven't we, Dave? They've been absolutely stunning. I know you've been blown away by them.
I've been blown away, and I think, and again, we're not playing favorites. We love all the Bond artists out there, but I think they're shared globally, probably in the most prolific way. And I was just thinking, as you were asking questions, Warren, if I take a look at across the Bond community, I'm wondering if Reuben's artwork is the most shared across and adopted by content creators, because I know he's done things for me, for you. I could probably count 24 other people that have it.
Joe
part
as
of
well,
their, Joe. Probably Dan Booth, with his groupies, probably have signs made by Reuben. But Reuben, you've done so many things for the Bond community, even outside of these posters.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, no, I've just put my skills out there, really, and offered people help and assistance when they've needed it. I enjoy working with other people. I don't really want anything out of it other than the experience of doing something nice with a friend and gaining some kind of experience. And also, my day job is quite boring design work, so it's quite nice to push myself and do something a bit more visually interesting.
Well,
you don't think bladder control ads are exciting?
No, like today, I did four price sheets for a sundial company, so that's how glamorous my day job is.
Careful, you could get yourself in trouble here.
Yeah, I know.
No, but I mean, we're just all of us so lucky to have your generosity, that you've given us and helped. But for me, anyway, for Cue the Music, literally the last few years, it's just been made life so much easier, and it's also really helped us grow and in the community and stuff, because it just looks so much more professional than the stuff I used to do on Photoshop and hash together, really. And
well,
so.
It's been a pleasure, and that I'm a massive supporter of you, and I love what you do, so it's always been great to just help out when I can.
I owe you another big dinner very soon.
Yeah,
but
you do.
I'll tell you what I am going to do. I definitely do. I'll tell you what I am going to do. I'm going to let you pick the next piece of music. So what have you got for us?
I have chosen Fight at Kobe Dock from the You Only Live Twice soundtrack.
Oh, I love this one. Now, this is one that I, when we recorded it last year, I mean, I was proper chills. Do you remember? I can't remember. Were you in this one, Dan? Was there guitar in this one? There was a bit.
I think
so.
There? Yeah. I think there's some baritone stuff.
That's right. Of course there is. Yeah. And I mean, can you remember this one? It's absolutely just an amazing piece of music.
It is just a cracking piece of music, isn't it? And I think it kind of sums up what John Barry was all about. It kind of gives you that that escapism and puts you in the situation of where the film is filmed. But it also, you can literally see in your mind's eye exactly where that point of the film is by just hearing that piece of music. I just think it's just Barry at his best, really.
Yeah, and I have to do a shout out before we start. I'm going to kick it off any second, but I have to do a shout out for my phenomenal colleague Mark Upton on trumpet, playing the solo. I told this story I think last year, but I was supposed to do the little solo at the end, and I was really looking forward to it. But with all the preparation of getting everything ready, all the getting all the camera plots done, the technical side, getting all the scores printed, everybody sorted, I just didn't have time to really just get my trumpet out and play it enough and just prepare this solo. So I said to Mark a couple of days before, do you think you could knock this out? And I'm so glad I did, because the level of detail and style, it's just absolute class. So really enjoy this. This is Fight at Kobe Dock. So there we go then. Such a great choice, Reuben. I'm really chuffed with that choice, mate. That's just such a belting cue.
It's a brilliant piece of music, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. It just gets chills every time I listen to it. And on the day, like I say, my eyes were watering when Mark was playing that solo. I think you probably see if you were watching closely, people watching, you'd see my face just in the corner of the screen when he's playing. It was just brilliant.
Yeah.
What about you, Dave? How's you Only Live Twice for you?
Yeah, I mean, but the thing that stood out for me were those violinists. I mean, where did you get them? That was amazing.
So they're a quartet that we've worked with a couple of times now. They're all sort of either full time or guest players with the Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra, which is one of our UK national orchestras. So top players. And it was brilliant actually because they were just everybody was just buzzing to be back playing. So we haven't played for that point I think 5 months or something, and I mean some of them, bless them, some of them were actually on the verge of of tears when we were finishing because they were just so happy to be back doing what they love. I mean we all were like that, weren't we, Dan? I mean we were all. It was just when you've spent your whole life working towards something and it's taken away like that. And you don't know when you're coming back. When you sort of get together and do something as well, the music was so epic as well. Yeah. It really did just make it all the better. It made it all the sweeter, I think, to do that.
Warren, did you say that it took 4 days to record all these?
Yeah, I mean, which actually sounds like a lot, but when you consider we did 100, I mean, Dan, how intense was it? We did 25 tracks a day or something, which is ridiculous for a recording schedule, really.
Yeah, it was crazy. And the thing that I think most people found tricky is obviously, like Warren said, we haven't played for like 5 months or whatever. And we had like 1 or 2 takes to play these tunes, some of which no one had ever played before. So it's like, play them through, yeah, that's the one, next.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
But
it was mental.
But that's the thing with Cue the Music, and it's like, it's bringing together phenomenal musicians that really do their homework, that have that attention to detail. That's the things I look for is ridiculous flair, and people that play at 11 all the time. The old what's the word I'm looking for? The old film that's gone from my head. The famous film, Everything's Turned Up to 11.
It's
gone from my head. Come on, Dan.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, I'm having a brain fart too.
Someone in
the chat room's gonna say.
Yeah.
It's
we turn it up to 11.
Yeah. It's on the tip of my tongue. And
Spinal Tap.
Spinal Tap. We're going to say. How could we take us all that long to think of it? Yeah, and so I'm always looking for people that sort of play at that level of intensity. And then on top of that, it's no good if you just turn up and you just try and wing it with just pure. I want to use a swear word, but you can't kid your way through these things. Let's use that word. You need James Bond stuff is just so well known, and there's so much detail within them. And Dan, with guitar parts, you've got to go through so many different styles, and you can't turn up and read that stuff, can you? You've got to learn it.
Especially if you're a guitar player. Guitar players suck at reading.
And how was it for you? Because that was like one of the first times you played with us. So not only did you really have to learn all the new tracks, you had to learn all the tracks that for the rest of us were bread and butter.
Yeah. I think I'd done perhaps 1 or 2 theatre gigs with you before, so I knew like the main 20, 25 tunes or whatever is in the show. But then just like anything, you have to like make a process out of it. And I was like, right, I've got 2-3 weeks or whatever. I need to learn this many a day. I had spreadsheets and stuff going on. And just when they all went green, it was okay.
Yeah.
And I don't think people realize that are watching this that Dan is only 12 years old. Yeah. So what an accomplishment to play like this.
So this is like my joke that I dine out on. This is absolutely true. Cue the Music as a band started in 2004, but actually the actual band really is made from the London show band. It's the same players. Actually, the first gig we did was in 1999. So I've been running the band 22 years, really. And Dan, you were born when?
I'm 21. I was born in 2000.
So my band is older than my guitar player.
It's all
Get
fun
off
and
my
games.
lawn.
It's all fun and games until your player can't get into his own concert without ID.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Wow.
we had that with actually Lee, the drummer, when he first started with us. He was sort of 16, I think 16, something like that. So there were times when he wouldn't have been able to do gigs with us. In fact, some of the gigs he used to do, I think he had to get special permission from the venue to do them. But, that's another thing I like to do as well. I like to give people that are up and coming, that have got bags of potential but are delivering on that potential already.
Yeah.
I like to give them a way in, because I remember when I started out, people gave me a chance, and that's how these things work. I believe in paying it forward and all of those things. So
Most definitely. And when you get someone as talented as Dan, then you haven't gone wrong, have you?
well, I genuinely think, Dan, I'm really giving you some smoke here, but I don't think that the guitar pad has ever been played better than what you play it now. It really do. When you factor in the style, the adrenaline, and all of those things, the energy, the flair on the solos, I don't think anyone's played it better than you have. So, yeah.
I don't know what to say. That's too kind, Warren. Thank you, mate.
Yeah, just don't.
And
go.
by the way, in the chat room, they're echoing that by throwing underwear at the screen. So it's got to be true.
Well, I tell you what, as we've just been waxing lyrical about Dan, I'm going to just throw in a little feature for Dan, because we recorded, what is a guitar solo, the Goldfinger instrumental. Now, this piece of music isn't actually in the film, it's on the soundtrack. And even the soundtrack, if I remember rightly, it was only released on the US record and not the UK one. So it was quite a strange choice for us to do it, like we do some unusual ones, but I just think it's so classic John Barry, and I think it's very much harks back to the Barry 7 sound, the records he was releasing around that surf guitar / the James Bond theme mixed in with the Goldfinger song. That I thought it was just too much fun not to do. Plus there's bits of Dawn Raid at Fort Knox in there and all sorts, so it really does feel it's weird to listen to it and think this wasn't in the score, because you just hear so much of the score in it. But let's hear a little bit of Dan playing this fantastic guitar solo. And I haven't lined it up yet, so let's get it lined up. Here we go. That's a short one. It nearly caught us off guard there, didn't it?
my
Eh?
gosh.
We were all.
What happened?
Luckily, no one had nipped for a comfort break.
You have to
We're all
finish
still
that story later, Warren.
here. Yes. Can't finish it on here.
Can't wait to hear what the rabbi and the rabbit did.
Yeah.
So, just one thing we just wanted to say, if anybody is in the chat, we are trying to keep an eye on the chat. So if you've got any good questions, we're seeing lots and lots of comments, which is lovely. And thank you so much for all the lovely things that you've been saying. But if you've got any questions for me or anybody here, and that's about Bond music, Cue the Music, or any of the various things, being James Bond, toys of Bond, posters, Bond experience, then fire them in and we will have a chat about them. So do that if you get a chance. But whilst I mention the Bond experience, Dave, over to you. Tell us a little bit about the Bond experience for the one less person that doesn't know about even being James Bond. There are no people watching that don't know about the Bond experience. Tell them about
I need
it.
that one person. I don't care. I'm gonna describe it. But basically, the Bond experience was my way of doing things that I would just normally do anyway around James Bond, and I decided to take people along for the ride for those that wanted to see or maybe even experience the journey. And it's primarily a YouTube channel, although I've got things on Facebook and Instagram and a website, but it's about living like Bond one moment at a time. And it's this whole idea that something very small, having a martini on a Friday evening is a James Bond thing. You don't have to go to lavish locations. You don't have to buy expensive things. You can have these very small moments that really happen between these two things more than anything else. And we all share that. We all share in the passion. And I love doing that. I love sharing it with the Bond community. If I did it by myself, it would be called something pretty perverse. So I like to share it out with people. That's the Bond experience.
And I have to say, I mean, I've consumed a lot of your content over the years. Not everything, because the rate you put it out, I would have no life with my family at all.
Agreed.
I have never known anybody. You are a machine for content. But I did manage to keep up with all of your stuff from Jamaica. Now, tell us a bit about that. And whilst you're talking, I'm going to put a little bit of footage on underneath of you in Jamaica.
Okay, sure. Yeah, Jamaica was great. Jamaica is a conversation that started back in 2019 with the Jamaican Tourist Board and GoldenEye. And we wanted to do a series of videos that really highlighted Jamaica and obviously GoldenEye. And, obviously COVID happened. The reason this trip happened, though, this time is really three reasons. Number one, I desperately wanted to go. I mean, I'll be very honest. I do all of these things because I want to do them. But the second thing is I also wanted to share it with people that were still in lockdown, that don't have the luxury of being able to get on a plane like I do. And then the third thing, and probably the most important, is the citizens, the people, the wonderful, wonderful people of Jamaica desperately need people like myself, people like Joe, people like you and Reuben and everybody else, and Dan and his underwear groupies, to share that eventually, when you can, Jamaica is a wonderful place to visit because they are down to 10% of what they normally have as far as tourists.
Wow.
We went to a golf course, and where they usually have 120 foursomes, they had 8 people that day at a giant golf course. And all of Jamaica is like that. So, they've lost, obviously, all of Europe. They've lost the cruise ships. And Jamaica is one location. I mean, all these locations are suffering, and people just want to get back to life. So this was a way to put a small injection of that with a Bond flair. And it was fun. I had my debut singing
We saw.
and my finale of ever singing. Interestingly
So
enough.
you sang under the mango tree there at the beach where
I did.
Ursula came out to sea, which we saw a few seconds ago. But now what we've got showing at the moment is your visit to the crocodile farm from Live and
my
Let
gosh.
Die.
Yeah. And you can't tell in this video, but Danielle, first of all, Danielle did not really want
Danielle's
to go
your
to this
wife.
place at all. And there are so many times I'm asking her to hold the camera so I can get this. And meanwhile, there are these like baby crocodiles, but the babies are like 3.5 feet long and have a 1,600 pound pressure of clamping. And so nobody wanted to go anywhere near it. And I was so high on Bond, getting in that whole mood. I didn't think about the danger until after I left. So I'm just going around looking at these giant crocodiles, and it was amazing.
And what we're seeing now, that bridge, that's not, the bridge from the film isn't there anymore. And they said they've got this sort
Correct.
of permanent walkway now, haven't they? Which you're out just walking out on there.
Yeah, that's the quote unquote baby crocodile. So that bridge is the same pathway
Yeah.
that they kind of rode the path out, and it goes out to the exact same island. And there are, I don't want to say there are thousands like they say in the film, but there are hundreds of crocodiles in those waters. And the way you could tell is he threw a horse heart. I said a horse heart into the water, and it started churning like a piranha movie. And so that's the amount of
Wow.
crocodiles they have there.
Wow, mad. Well, Joe, have you been to Jamaica at all? Golden Eye at all?
I have, but I kind of say that with an asterisk. I've been there on cruises where we stopped in Jamaica, went, kind of had the afternoon, and that was about it. So yes, I can technically say that I have, but it's not the experience that David had for sure.
He's going though.
Is it on the bucket list?
It's on the bucket list, absolutely.
So
It's gonna happen.
Okay, question for I mean, Dan, this might be throwing you on the bus a little bit, so you have to answer this one. But for the other three of you, what's number one left on your Bond locations to visit that you haven't yet visited?
Number one?
Yeah. Shall I go first while you think about
Yes.
it? Just to give you a chance to have a think. So I think mine would be actually in the Bahamas. You know the steps where Sean comes out the sea? And you guys have both been there because I've seen the video.
Together,
I mean, Joe,
no
yeah,
less.
and Joe, you looked at a fair bit younger, actually. I don't know how long ago it was. Was this, how long ago was that? Must have been a quite a few-
Pre-beard.
Yeah,
It could have
pre-beard.
been a good 10 years, possibly, believe
I
it or
think it
not.
was. Yeah.
And
Isn't
tragic,
that amazing?
it is. Tragically, I was in the Bahamas in 2005, I think, on my honeymoon. So it was before Casino Royale, and it was before I realised there was this whole like massive Bond fan community thing. Well, to be fair, a lot of these things weren't happening then, but and I just I hadn't really kind of thought about the you know, going and visiting these locations, and that's one that I could have done. And we went to Atlantis, to be fair, so I didn't know at the time it was going to be a location, but we did go go there, and I really wish I'd been to see that. I don't know why, that just something about that's just so iconic for me. And Cue the Music were booked to play in the Ocean Club at Atlantis about 3 or 4 New Year's Eves ago. And there was that. Do you remember that massive hurricane? I think it,
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure if it's Katrina or not, but the one that was like, you know, wiped out a lot of places in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And it completely ruined the resort, and they had to shut it for about a couple of months. And we were booked on the flights, were booked and everything. And it was the week before or something. They said, "Look, really sorry, but it's been cancelled." And I was definitely going to take one of my days and go and visit a few of those locations while I was there. But so that's the one for me that's still top of the list. Who wants to go next?
Mine's easy because mine's Fizz Gloria,
Oh.
which I know all three of you've been to, luckily. No, I was supposed to be going last year for my 40th birthday, but it kind of got put aside like everything else for everybody else. So that's an adventure yet to come for me. But yeah, no, looking forward to that one.
That was where my love affair with Cue the Music started.
Yeah.
At Fizz Gloria.
You've never spoken of it, Joe. I've never heard you speak about that.
Never.
You know what I find happens with these locations? When you go there, you actually wind up liking the movies that film there even more.
Yeah, that's very. I found that with Majesties actually. You know, and the score. The score was something that went from being sort of mid-table Barry Bond scores. I mean, I know I'm probably going to get things thrown at me from home here, but by the time I'd done that 50th anniversary event, it's like jostling for first now with Thunderball. I absolutely love that score. Yeah. But have you? So what about location? Have you got anything? Have you got any locations left? Have you just visited them all now, Dave? Is that the thing?
No, well, I do have one, and it's going to make me sound like, oh, you like everything that's new. But Matera, from No Time to Die, looks absolutely amazing, and I've been chatting away with some people there as well, and that's on our bucket list, and hopefully even maybe not too far in the future, hoping. But I can't wait. It looks absolutely amazing. There's some wonderful towns around there that have nothing to do with James Bond, but we like that. We like a little bit of Bond and then a lot of like culture. That's typically what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe, have you got one lined up yet?
I think if I had to single, basically it would just be, I'll just say Eastern Europe, because Eastern Europe, I've never really been to Eastern Europe. I shouldn't even say it that way. Never really. I've never been to Eastern Europe. The ones that have always kind of Vienna, all the beautiful scenes in The Living Daylights have always kind of like, oh boy, that looks fantastic. And of course, when I saw Casino Royale, Karlovy Vary fell in love instantly, and I just have to get there at some point. I have to complete all of my Casino Royale locations, and that would do it, I think. So, yeah, definitely that one for me.
Awesome.
Vienna's a really nice city as well. Beautiful place.
I could just imagine.
I've never been to Vienna actually. I've been to a lot of European cities, but not that one. Dan, we've got a question for you. I think your mum must be watching. She's got a question. She's thrown in a question. Actually, it's from Paul Lally, who generally is a Cue the Music supporter, and he doesn't even know you, I think. So that's good. He wants to know, what effects do you use to get that 60s sound, and what choice of guitar did you go with to best fit the songs? Now, you had a couple of quite a few guitars, didn't you?
Yeah, so I had 5, I think, with me. Only need to use 4, but got to have a backup. So, yeah, 5. My main guitar is a PRS DGT model. It can cover pretty much all ground. It covers the Telecaster thing really well and the Les Paul thing really well. This one right here.
Oh, look at that.
Which you've seen
Wow.
on all the clips. So, bridge single coil is that classic Bond sound, and that guitar can pull that off really well. So that was the guitar. Effect. Okay, roll on the hate. I use a Kemper, which is a profiling amp rather than a tube amp or anything.
So break that down, because everybody watching here will not have
You
a
son of a
clue
bitch.
what you just said. So there's 2 ways of playing, isn't there? There's that where you have a live amplifier that's making the sound on stage, and it's the typical what you imagine on stage, big stack of guitar speakers, or even just 1 or 2, or the Kemper. It's almost, if you want, for a non-musician, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's effectively like plugging a guitar into a keyboard, in that there doesn't have to be any live sound on the stage. It's all created internally, and it's created without making a live sound.
No, that's right. Yeah. On the theatre shows, I do bring a cabinet with me, so it does act like a traditional guitar amp would. But in this sense, because we're recording, you don't want bleed into microphones.
Yeah.
So we didn't do that. But it basically has like all the effects and all the amps kind of built in. So I kind of just tweaked to what the era would suit. I've just seen the question, so I just found the profile that I was using, the sound I was using. I mean, you said 60s sound, so it's an old Marshall kind of sound, with a bit of slapback delay, bit of spring reverb, and a compressor in front.
Well, there you go.
Pretty simple.
It's an important point, actually, because it does bring up the question that I get asked a lot about these recordings. How is the sound so clean? And how does it sound so like a studio when we're actually all on one stage together? And it's because of that. I mean, pretty much everything on stage is silent, apart from the brass and the drums. And even the vocals, whilst obviously they're not silent, they're going through a microphone. Because it's just a voice and a microphone, the only thing you can really hear in that microphone is the vocals, and then a little bit of bleed from the brass and the drums. But because they're far enough in front of the stage, you don't really get too much in there apart from the vocals. Drums wise, really you only get the drums in the drum mics, and brass wise, because we're playing right into the mic, they only really get the individual instruments. So when I come to mix the sounds afterwards, really I've got enough separation there that it's almost like being in a studio, and I can really do anything to it. And one of the things I spend a lot of time doing as well is that I mute all of the live mics, like the drums and the brass mics. Whenever they're not playing, I clear out all of that sound so that there's absolutely no noise at all. You've just got what's actually playing at that time coming through. So that's why the sound is so sort of crystal clear.
Hey, Warren, by the way, there's a question for you that I think is worth asking from Thomas Ryan. He wants to know, Warren, is it a prerequisite that all of your band members are big Bond fans?
That is a question that we get asked a lot, and I always feel bad to say the answer is no, because I feel that it's in some ways it removes a little bit of authenticity from the band, because some of the band members are, I don't think there's obviously nobody in the band that can't stand Bond. I mean, that would be ridiculous. But I think everyone in the band is a fan of the music, and I think that anybody in the band who comes into it has to become a fan of the music, because the amount of detail and research and homework I expect of them, then you can't listen to it that much and know it that well without being a fan of the music. And actually, I think anyone that's ever played in the band realised really quickly that nothing's gonna sneak under the mat with me. You know, it's true, isn't it, Dan? I mean, even on that recording, the first couple of tracks that we worked together, I was, I think you were a bit surprised, because I was like, no, that needs to be like this. And after we had the first 3 or 4 songs, and I was like, this is how this sound needs to be. This is how that sound needs to be. And then it was fine. You just, or it was all Dan after that. I just let you go. But I think it's just getting everybody into that one path, that everybody's traveling in the same direction, and it's like, this is how James Bond sounds. This is the cue the music philosophy of how we're trying to incorporate energy and a little bit of flair and a little bit of colouring outside of the lines, but at the same time it's all got to slot into that James Bond sound that everybody coming's going to know and expect.
I think that's something tricky about the gig, actually, is knowing when to be totally to the book, exactly note for note, sound for sound, this is how it's got to be, and then when you can, because there are moments when you can let loose a bit and kind of make it your own. So it's fun covering such a wide range of genres, and also sometimes having to be so specific and finding the enjoyment in recreating that, and sometimes just being able to, let your hair down and do what you like.
Yeah, I don't think I've even got it's not like I've got a manifesto or a rule book or anything as where's the line, and this, because there are certain things, like when we do the James Bond theme, it's got to be absolutely spot on like the original, but then we'll do something like Another Way to Die, and there's a lot more room for moving around in it, and I don't really know where that whole thing, where the James Bond theme approach stops and the Another Way to Die approach starts. It depends, because like Bond 77 is pretty much bang on the original, but then there's just that little bit of extra live energy we try and inject into it, and I can't even put my finger on that side of it. Just works.
Is it because one is amazing and one is chalkboard?
I was about to say.
Well, I just used those 2 examples, but there are other things that I think, to be fair, I think the most iconic ones you just have to do, and all the cues really, they're as close as they can be, and the iconic songs are as well. I suppose the ones that maybe are weaker in. That I'm not using that, but in people watching in their words, I think they're the ones where we probably let loose a little bit, I guess.
Warren, do you find that people who come into the band who are not necessarily Bond fans, that they'll eventually will wear them down and they'll eventually get the bug a little bit, or do you find maybe the other phenomenon where they might have been mild Bond fans, but after doing it every day for
That I tell you, that actually, surprisingly, that side of it has never happened, and it was, if more, the first than the second. And there's a great example, actually, and I think I saw her watching. Karen, my amazing sound engineer, has been with the band for the last few years, and she's absolutely brilliant, and she's so generous with her time, and really helps cue the music. But she I don't think she was the biggest Bond fan in the world when she came in, and certainly not with the music, but she watches them all now. And it shows how much this stuff is kind of bleeding into their life, because I was talking about Under the Mango Tree and possibly doing it, and she's like, oh yeah, that's from Dr. No, that's when Ursula, and she just suddenly, she now knows all of that stuff, and she's watching the films. And even the night, funny enough, the most amazing thing, the night before we did these lockdown sessions, we got down to the hotel where we were recording and got into the rooms. Obviously, Karen was in her room and I was in my room, and switched on the TV, and there was Thunderball on TV. Can you believe it? So I was like, this is just made in heaven, So it was a really nice way to chill out the night before we really got into it. But she texted me, and we were both sort of simultaneously watching it in our hotel rooms. And then we did the jazz CD in January, and the same thing happened there. I can't remember which film it was playing, but exactly the same thing was another Bond film playing that night as well. So they obviously know that we're coming. But on the jazz CD note, Dave, what have you got coming up? What have you chosen for us today?
My choice was so easy, and it's kind of themed off of the video that you were just playing. I got a bolus dose. Yeah, Joe's holding it up. I got a bolus dose of Dr. No, No Time to Die, but mostly Live and Let Die in Jamaica. So I had to go for Live and Let Die. And by the way, I say this even when we're not in a live stream. Warren hears this every day from me. Your Cue the Music's jazz interpretations are some of the most incredible music, not just Bond music, but just incredible music. I've dreamt as a young Bond fan of a jazz CD that I could put on in my car during parties that are kind of background music when I'm doing expense reports. And it's like you almost like fulfilled my wish, but other people are benefiting from it. So this is from that, and I love it.
I mean, who doesn't love a bit of lounge jazz, lounge Bond? That's the John Williams saying, isn't it? He loves a bit of lounge Bond. Yeah. Well, this is one of the tracks. This is quite an upbeat, quite a sort of in-your-face one actually from the album. That's generally fairly chill. This one's pretty up tempo. So this is "Live and Let Die" from our recently recorded jazz recording. And so we're back. Now, I believe we've got a few questions coming in now, which is great. So we'll try and answer a few.
I've got a fun one that I'd love to throw out to everybody. So this is from BC. His question is, I often try to champion Bill Conti's underrated score from For Your Eyes Only, often to no avail, his words. Let's go around. Do you guys like it? And if so, what's your favorite piece?
Joe, you go.
That's an easy one for me. My favorite piece is from the pre-titles. I feel like from the moment Bond gets up around to the front of the helicopter and pulls the plug, takes control of the helicopter, that gets me going every single time. I love that one. I think it's just so good. Like it's such a great contemporary for that time, take on the James Bond theme, the way it just erupts when something amazing happens. I think as a whole, I've always felt that the score's got moments that kind of excel. I think the way you hear people talk about GoldenEye, they'll sort of say, well, like everyone loves to pick on this one scene that's really kind of clunky, but there's so many other things that really excel. I probably feel kind of similar about Conti's For Your Eyes Only. There are moments that I probably not my favorite. Some of them really work well, and that's definitely my favorite part.
Yeah. What about you, Reuben? Are you a For Your Eyes Only fan?
I think, like Joe, it's a bit hit and miss, isn't it? For me, or at least there are some good tracks, Runaway and A Drive in the Country, especially. I really like those two. But there are other ones that aren't quite as strong, and you can tell it's not a Barry score, unfortunately.
Have you just put that behind you, or was that there before? I can't remember now. On the right, that you got the For Your Eyes Only artwork behind you, haven't you?
Yeah, no, it's always been there.
It's the watch advert.
It is the watch advert.
What about you, Dave? How's it rate for you?
I like Ski, Shoot, Jump, and I love Driving the Country. I like Bill Conti because it's so different.
Yeah.
It's like the George Martin thing. It's like I like a little bit of variety and spice. So yeah, bring it on.
I've got to say, I absolutely love this score, and even more so when we did. I mean, I think we did more cues last year on the lockdown sessions for Your Eyes Only. We probably did with any other score, because from a band point of view, like Cue the Music, there's just so much to mine that not only can we play, but we can do something, really fun with it, with the energy. So we certainly did Take Me Home, Runaway, a bit of Submarine, Driving the Country. We did Gonzalez Takes a Drive, which should be Gonzalez Takes a Dive, Melina's Revenge, and one of those two cues, I can't remember which one, but one of those two cues has got that bit you were singing, Joe, from the helicopter bit. It gets rolled into one of the cues on the soundtrack. That we actually did that.
It is funny how it plays on the soundtrack. It is a little they tweak a couple cues together.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the time they're too small to have as their own standalone, and they've just lumped them together. But they've done it in quite a random way. And like I say, the one that's called Gonzalez Takes a Drive happens just after Gonzalez is shot and falls in the pool. And they really meant that was a typo, wasn't it? It should have been Gonzalez Takes a Dive, but yeah. And but yeah, what about you, Dan? Can you remember playing those cues last year? What they were brilliant, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, Reuben, you said Runaway. That was wicked. I love playing that one.
Yeah.
But also A Drive in the Country and Make It Last All Night.
Yes.
Those two are just absolute bangers. I love those songs.
They both took me by surprise how much fun we had playing them, actually. I wasn't too sure about Make It Last All Night. I've never really been a huge fan of that, but I really enjoyed putting it down, and I thought it's funny how some tracks I find that really come alive when you play them live. It's one thing when you go in a studio. I mean, this is the thing with Cue the Music. I did an album with Cue the Music like 10 years ago where we recorded all the tracks in a studio, like with a click track, and layered everybody up one at a time. And the end result was it just didn't sound like Cue the Music. It just had no energy, it had no life, it had none of the emotion and the adrenaline and everything else. And it's that live vibe that just sometimes takes these things up another notch. What else have you got?
I think
sorry, go on, Joe.
That Make It Last All Night, I think, goes up there with Dirty Love, and one or two others that when Cue the Music does it, now I get it. Now suddenly it's a whole different thing.
It's not just filth music anymore.
Right.
Oh, it's filth.
Dirty Love. When I had to learn that well, what a wicked song. Unfortunately, we didn't record it. So one time, Warren, we've got to play it because I love that
Yeah,
song.
that's right. We had a few songs that were on the session on the first day that we were planning to get in, but we just ran out of time. So there was about 7 songs that I just had to say, right, we're not going to get those down. But we already had them recorded, like Dirty Love. I've got a great recording of us doing it at the 50th anniversary of Majesty's at Piers Glory. And I was like, well, the idea was to re-record everything, but I thought, well, we can just use that. And Joe, how amazing was that moment when we did that? The roof just came off, didn't it? On that because you go do Majesty's 50th anniversary, and we didn't do every song. We had to condense down a set list that was sort of picking a few songs out and 20 minutes of Majesty's cues, and then Dirty Love. What was I thinking?
I think that was the moment where I've never gone to the kind of church where you have like the born again converts or whatever. I felt like that was the moment in when we all just became converts, where we were now believers. We were believers in Dirty Love. Okay, we get it.
I think
Warren, there's a question I think is going to put a smile on your face. Can you field one more before the next one? So this is from Tim Hans.
Yeah.
And Tim says, this one's for Warren. You're going to love answering this. Have you ever been contacted by the likes of, say, David Arnold or Paul McCartney, who have heard your work? And if so, what did they think of your tribute band?
So, it's a difficult one for me. I'm going to let you answer this in a minute, Dave, because it's one of those. It's one of those ones. It's very difficult for me to answer because I started out as a fan of David Arnold in particular is someone that I've last 20 years or whatever it is now. I've idolized what he's done with the Bond scores in particular, and even before he did Bond, I loved his Independence Day scores. Remember my first memory of hearing his scores, and I saw that at cinema, and I straight was like, who is this guy? This is amazing. And I was absolutely made up when he got signed on to do Tomorrow Never Dies. And then Tomorrow Never Dies is definitely one of my favorite Bond scores. I love it. So I've always been with Cue the Music. We've been so lucky over the last 5 or 6 years that it's kind of put us in a place where we've done these events, where we've been in the same room and met people like George Lazenby, and we played at Roger Moore's Memorial, and I've got to meet David Arnold through the Roger Moore Memorial, and for me it's always been about sort of trying to build a relationship with those people and not just say, so and so said this, whatever. David Arnold made a lot of comments to me in private before ever he made the public ones on your show, and we'll talk about in a second. But I was always going to keep those to my friends and family until he came out and said it in public. And then when he did last year, and of all the times to do it in the middle of the pandemic, when it was a hard year last year, and then out of the blue, what happened there, Dave? Because he went on a bit of a rant, didn't he?
He did in the best way. And by the way, it's always nice when I'm interviewing somebody, especially someone like a David Williams, let's say, and he mentions Calvin's name, and I'm like, yeah, Calvin's like my good buddy.
Yeah.
But this was a very similar situation. I was talking to David Arnold, and we spoke for 90 minutes. And there was one part where he started to talk about you and the tribute band and how incredible it is, and the passion that can't be replicated. I'm like, hold on a second, I've got a question from him. But there's a mutual admiration club going on, and I guess I don't think I'm talking out of turn by saying, before that, I know you guys spoke privately, but he's been kind of connecting with you back and forth, which is great.
Yeah, we swap a few emails. I don't want to say more than that because that my friends and close Cue the Music people know a little bit more because I share that with the inner circle of Cue the Music supporters. But that's something that I think's private. When he wants to come out and say that stuff, it's amazing, and I'm always incredibly flattered and humbled when he comes out and says stuff like that. But I'm not going to go out and. Because otherwise you're just going to think, oh, Cue the Music, they're just out there for the to rinse whatever they can out of my name, and I don't want to. I'd rather just leave and leave Cue the Music behind and go back into obscurity of not being a Cue the Music or James Bond tribute band.
It was all about professional admiration.
Yeah,
I mean that's what it came down to. It's a colleague to a colleague. Moments, which those are so fun, and that's all people need to know, that there's a huge amount of mutual respect.
Oh, well, Yeah, it's the was the
But
most,
Paul McCartney hates Ward.
Yeah.
Hates him.
especially when he heard that jazz version. It's like, what have you done? What have you done? But,
It downright fucked me.
whoops.
My goodness.
There goes your audience. I was just quoting Paul.
Now, before we play another cue, and time's getting on here, by the way. So, in fact, let's do it. Let's go with my choice. I've picked my favourite track from last year, which is actually a medley. So it's a pretty sizable piece of music you've got coming up, and it's a suite of music from Thunderball. And I've just pulled my headphones out, so I can't hear anything now. It's a suite of music from Thunderball, and I can't tell you how excited I was to record this. Thunderball has always been my number one score, always. And the night before we were putting this down, I couldn't even sleep. I was so excited to get in the studio and play this and record it. And I mean, I was awake from about 4:30 in the morning, just in my bed like this, like, let's get in there. So when we finally got to play it, I mean, the chills for the whole time we were putting down the takes. And it's really, really hard to record as well, because there's just so many things kind of weaving in and out of each other, different time signatures and things. It was, I don't know if you remember it, Dan, that was quite a tricky one to pull together. Anyway, I tell you what, I'll play it. Let's stop talking because we've talked long enough. Here is the Thunderball Suite. Enjoy it. And we're back. The end of an absolutely epic 9 minutes of music. John Barry at his very best. I mean, Thunderball for me, that's the top. That really is the top. I don't know where does it rank for everybody else. I mean, some people say that Thunderball's too noisy for them, and they prefer maybe the string approach of You Only Live Twice, or the more synth approach of On a Magic Secret Service. But what about you guys?
Who are these people that you speak of?
You're
Thunderball's amazing. I mean, I love the film, so I mean, I'm sure that's influencing my love of the music.
It does.
But it is probably, as Joe likes to put this terminology, it gets the most fingerprints from me because it's got everything. You know, it's got things that are bombastic and energetic, and it's got things that are soft and melodic. So I love it.
What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's got a great range in terms of when the action kicks in, it's kind of just like this over the top, you know, pulse pounding action. But it's also got, like you said, like with the film, it's got kind of my favorite, just kind of chill moments. You know, like I can sit there and have a little conch chowder, and the music kind of just goes with it, and it's working for me. So yeah, it's thumbs up for me.
Reuben, as the authentic man, the vinyl man, how does it sound on vinyl? Because I imagine that sort of uncompressed, you know, energy of the vinyl must be absolutely off the charts for that.
Oh, it's superb on vinyl, especially things like Chateau Fight and Cafe Martinique is one of my favorite all-time Bond cues. So that one just sounds gorgeous, playing on a record player with a bit of hiss in the background. Gorgeous.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we got a couple more questions coming in. One was for you, Reuben. It was asking what music do you like to have on to inspire you when you're being creative with your artwork? I mean, if you had to put a Bond soundtrack on to work to, what one would you put on? Not necessarily your favourite, but what one would accompany your creative ness?
My go-to two probably are Her Majesty's and Tomorrow Never Dies. I just love both of those scores. They're my top two probably. But I found with doing my artwork, I tended to listen to the score from the film that I was actually working on, just to try and get me in that state of mind of what I was doing. But generally, I just listen to any kind of Bond music when I'm designing. It's just such great background music, isn't it?
Yeah, I have to say, for me, I actually struggle to have Bond music on when I'm working because I find it too distracting. But the two soundtracks that I could imagine that would work, and I've heard people say this about Spectre and Skyfall, that they've had those tracks on when they're working, those soundtracks on when they're working, and I could imagine those two actually being quite nice to work to because they don't have those really sort of big themes that are overtaking your, you know, all your senses and everything else. They're much more atmospheric soundtracks. I think they probably work quite well to listen to whilst you're trying to do something else.
Yeah, they are good background music, aren't they? Those two, definitely.
Yeah. We had another question. What was the other question I was gonna? Oh, it was there was a question along the lines of the next score. Would I like to score the next film or something? Which is very, very complimentary, but hell, I wouldn't be able to get anywhere near doing that. But I thought I'd turn it round and ask everybody who their shout for a future Bond composer for the next Bond film after No Time to Die. What would you say, David? What would be your shout for a future Bond composer?
You know, I think I would choose not an ordinary choice, Alexander Desplat. Who not a lot of people know, but if you've heard Grand Budapest, the fantastic Mr. Fox King's Speech, that was a really good one. The Curious Case of Benjamin Buttons. I mean, these are all soundtracks that and scores that he's put together, and they're phenomenal. I could see him doing a Bond film.
Yeah, he's one that I had on my shortlist. I did a podcast last week talking about future potential composers, and he's one. I listened to a few bits of his, and there's definitely potential in there. And I think he'd actually, he'd be a quite interesting choice to walk the tightrope of he'd be able to write the thematic material and the melodic material if he wanted to, but he also has an approach that's not too dissimilar to Thomas Newman. He can write in that style, and I think if they really wanted to carry on in that vein, which I've got a feeling that's where we're going to be with Bond music at the moment. You know, I'm not. I like everybody else. I want a more classic Bond score, but I think he would be a good choice because he would actually be able to carry that on, but also give us more of a grounding in the traditional Bond sound. Joe, what about you? Have you got a pick for a future composer you'd like?
I'm gonna confess, I feel like anything post like the late '80s, like John Williams, Jerry Goldsmith. My knowledge of contemporary composers slacks a bit. And honestly, I hate to sound like that guy, but I kind of feel like why are we not bringing David Arnold back? I mean, the guy, he's still working, he's active. I mean,
Yeah.
what are we doing? He's never done a bad score.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I keep sort of asking myself, and it's interesting because I thought the soundtrack for Skyfall was great. When I heard it again for Spectre, I thought it was okay. I thought it was fine. I thought, the Skyfall soundtrack to me was interesting because it wasn't what I would imagine for that film. But once I heard it, I kind of felt like, I don't know if I can, it kind of goes with that film now.
Yeah.
So I don't have any complaints about the direction they've gone, but and again, I'm kind of waiting to see what happens in No Time to Die. I have high hopes it's going to be a good score, but I just keep asking myself, but why not David Arnold? I mean, again, this guy has he's been so quintessential to holding the current generation of Bond films together. Why not?
I think the reason they went away with it to start with was that just the director didn't work with him the way he worked with Thomas Newman, and I think that's part of the reason why they went away from David Arnold. And once they stepped away, I wonder whether I've sort of got this theory that the Hollywood approach to film music writing has just kind of changed, and it's they're now kind of, all these scores tend to be a lot more atmospheric and almost part of the scenery. It's like when you go into M's office, you don't necessarily look at each individual item, unless you're watching for the fourth, fifth time or whatever, but you don't necessarily pick out each individual item that's dotted around the office, but it's all there as part of the dressing of the scene. And I think that's the approach of, certainly with Newman, is his approach is more of dressing of the scene rather than standing alone in its own right, the way that Barry and Arnold did that.
That's a great observation. That's a great point. And it's funny because I've felt that myself. I felt like, kind of since David Arnold, I don't find myself gravitating towards listening to soundtracks the way I used to. A great example of what you're talking about, I think, is, I love the Bourne movies. I thought the first three, anyway, the first trilogy. I kind of always loved the music. The music is there's very toe tapping, sort of a beat to it. And I remember when I finally broke down and bought the score for the Bourne Identity, first time I listened to it, I never listened to it again. It's great in the film, but it doesn't really work well on its own. And I kind of feel like pretty much since David Arnold, I can't really think of another film recently that they all sort of fall into that category. They might work great when you're watching the film, but I don't think to listen to them on their own.
Yeah,
the way I would with a John Barry or a David Arnold.
Dan, what about you? Have you got a shout on this one?
Yeah, well, I'm going to agree with Joe and what seems to be most of the people in the comment section with David Arnold. I want to hear another Backseat Driver.
Yes. Well, you want to play another Backseat Driver. That's tell the truth. So do I. So yeah, I mean, I've got my shout. I'm going to save mine till last, but I mean, it number one on the list for me would be David Arnold, but I just feel that we're probably not going to go back there for the reasons I mentioned before, which breaks my heart. But I just think that things are kind of seem to be moving on. They seem to be going a different direction. Reuben, what about you? Because I've got a feeling you might be about to shout out my number two on my list, which again I don't think might happen, but I'll tell you why in a minute.
No, I think having heard his incredible score, but back in the day, I think Michael Giacchino would have been a good shout for it. Whether he's still suited for it now, I don't, probably not, but I think he would have brought something interesting, certainly to the score. And if you listen to The Incredibles, it's heavily influenced by the Bond sound as well. So I think he would have been interesting at least.
You don't even just have to listen to The Incredibles. My 2-year-old is just massively into Disney cars at the moment, and the second one in the series, we've got them on loop at the moment downstairs. It's a nightmare. But the second one, if you've ever seen it, it's an Aston Martin. The first thing that this Aston Martin does, he's a secret agent in the film, and he sort of has a raid on these oil refineries in the sea, and he's got all these gadgets and everything else. And the score to it is just so reminiscent of a Bond score. And I was sitting there thinking, this is obviously a parody on Bond, but the music, whoever's written this music, is obviously just massively into Bond as well, because it really sounds like a Bond score. I thought, I'll just have a look and see who it is. Who was it? Michael Giacchino. Surprise, surprise. I mean, he's been putting his calling card out for years. And yeah, I would, if Arnold couldn't do it, I would love to see him do it. I sort of wonder whether he... they're really close, those two. They've done some concerts where they've done
together, haven't they?
Yeah, and I wonder whether he wouldn't take it out of respect. I don't know. Maybe he would. It's a job, and I'm sure all is fine in love and war and all of that. But I wonder whether, again, he's in that same genre of writing really kind of big thematic stuff. I mean, I think his score for Rogue One is really underrated, the Star Wars film. And he wrote some amazing, like there's a Escape from Edu. There's a track on there that's just absolutely stunning. I really recommend when you get off this, when I shut up and you get off this stream, go and look up Rogue One, and I think it's Escape from Edu or something along. It's definitely something from Edu. I'm pretty sure it's Escape from Edu. The last 2 minutes of that are just amazing, and he writes really well within a genre of music like a John Williams genre, James Bond genre, but still makes it his own. He's got that David Arnold trait of managing to keep one foot in the genre, but actually also come up with something really fresh. But my shout is I don't think those two will probably get it. I think one to keep your eye on, who's still quite young, he's in his mid-30s, but he's already got quite a list of credits and an Oscar and Grammy under his belt, is Ludwig Göransson, who wrote the theme tune and all the music for The Mandalorian, if you've seen that, and Pink Panther, Black Panther. That's Pink Panther, something else completely. But I think he's absolutely amazing, and he also does a lot of producing of pop records and stuff as well, so he'd be an interesting one to get involved if you wanted someone that could cross that bridge of doing both the score and the song. I think he'd be a really interesting choice and one to watch out for. But there you go. Long answer to that question. Let's have some more music. Now, what we're going to do is... someone's asking if it's Escape from Jeddah. It's definitely not Escape from Jeddah, the one I'm talking about. It's something from Edu, and I can't remember from the top of my head the name of that track. But it's, if you go and look for Rogue One, it's something along the lines of something from Edu. Go and check that out. It's about a 7 or 8 minute track, and the last 3 minutes are just stunning. So we're going to put a list up here, and we're going to throw it open to the people watching at home to make a pick. You're going to have 10 choices of cues, first of all. Let me see if I can get this up. Here we go. So if you want to put in the comments your choice, there's 10 to choose from. Backseat Driver, Runaway, Gonzalez Takes Drive, a few of the ones we've mentioned. We've got the On a Master Secret Service theme, got Gunbolt Safe, If He Finds It, Kill Him, Space Laser Battle, Hercules Takeoff, Fillet of Soul, which was amazing to do, wasn't it? Yeah, I can see you nodding. And James Bond with Bongos. So some really great choices there. A difficult choice to make.
So is it majority rules, Warren?
Absolutely, as we did before. Let's see what comes back. We've got...
Oh, it's a nice eclectic list too.
It really is. I really picked a few to throw the cat amongst the pigeons.
We got a couple backseat drivers already.
Yep.
Confrontation on Edu. That was the track, by the way. Thank you very much, Gary. Bongos. If you find
so far, we got a slew of backseat drivers, one On Her Majesty's Secret Service, a Runaway.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to go with Backseat Driver by the looks of it.
We've got another On Her Majesty's Secret Service, but another backseat driver, coming in strong from Passion
A
Fruit.
couple of runaways.
Passion fruit jumps in.
And Backseat Driver in the lead, and On Her Majesty's.
All right,
Yeah.
let's go with Backseat Driver. You'll be able to see all these other cues in future concerts, so come back every month and you can see them in the future. No problem. Let me just get Backseat Driver up. Here we go. Oh, I tell you what, that's one awesome thing to play. It really is one awesome tune to play. I really enjoyed that.
What is that thing at the end on the trumpet that you used to go like wah wah wah?
It's a mute. You can get lots of different mutes. Contrary to what the name suggests, and contrary to what people probably think, they're not primarily to make the instrument quieter. They're just to change the colour of the sound. And there's a whole range of mutes that make different sounds. And Barry uses them a lot. That particular sound with that wah wah is very, very John Barry, starting back in Goldfinger with wah 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 wah, the Goldfinger theme. And David Arnold always talks about how a great story when he was talking to one of the trumpet players on one of the first sessions he did with Bond and said, "Oh, I really want to get that sound, that the sound of with the mute from Goldfinger." He said, "Do you know what I mean?" And the trumpet player, who was Derek Watkins, said, "Well, yeah, that was me." So kind of got an idea. Great story. So we've got another list for you all to choose from. We're getting towards the end, by the way, folks. We've got 2 more tracks, 1 more list, and the first thing is a list of songs. Let me just see if I get this up. Why is it not coming on? There it is. Here it comes. So, pick one from these 10 songs. These are all belting songs. Got Goldfinger, Thunderball, Diamonds, Live and Let Die, No Does It Better, View to a Kill, Golden Eye, You Know My Name, Another Way to Die, and Skyfall. And Reuben, whilst people are having a look and choosing, you'll know because this is the bane of my life. I'm always writing GoldenEye with a small e instead of a capital E, and I've done it on this list again.
Yep.
Slap my wrist. I'm always sending you stuff, aren't I, for artwork? And I'm like, oh, Reuben. He sends me back the proof. I'm like, Reuben, I've put the small e again. I always forget.
Yep. It's always a big E.
Yeah. But the other contrary, the opposite to that is it drives me nuts when people put a capital F for Goldfinger. I mean, he hasn't got a gold finger.
I see a lot where people put Spectre in all caps.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just can't bring myself to do that every time I go to write it.
Yeah. Oh, Dave,
it's the same with Moonraker. Moonraker, they put in all caps or they don't.
Yeah. I tell you what though, I have to say I'm a bit precious when I see people writing their names wrong, especially of the songs, and they abbreviate and it's just like all the time in the world. No, it's We Have All. I know it's a really long title to write and it's impossible to fit it into anything, but that's the name.
Skyfall and You Know My Name on YouTube is kind of neck and neck.
Yeah, we're getting lots in.
We're a certain breed of fan when we're debating the spellings of the titles of.
Yeah.
It's important stuff, though, Joe.
This is true.
This is it. This is life and death stuff. What ones are you seeing, Dave? Did you say?
A lot of You Know My Name and Skyfall.
Yeah, I am as well. Yeah, You Know My Name. I think is just about getting it. So let's.
I think it's squeezing just slightly ahead of Skyfall on mine on YouTube as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to go with You Know My Name.
Sweet.
And here we go. Enjoy.
If you take a life, do you know what you give? Odds are you won't like what it is. When the storm arrives, would you be seen with me by the merciless eyes of the sea? I've seen angels fall from blinding eyes, but you yourself are nothing so divine. Just next in line on yourself because no one else here will save you. The odds will betray, and I will replace you. Can't deny the It longs to kill you. Are you willing to die? Coldest blood runs through my veins. You know my name. If you come inside, things will not be the same. When you return to the light, if you think you've won, you never saw me change. The game that we have been playing. I've seen diamonds cut through harder men than you yourself, but if you must pretend, you may meet your end. On yourself, because no one else here will save you. The answer to the trail, and I will embrace you. Can't deny the prize, it may never fulfill you. It longs to kill you. Are you willing to die? Coldest blood runs through my veins. Try to hide your hand. Get out of field. Get out of field. Life is gone with just the spin of the wheel. Spin out the wheel. Arm yourself because no one else here will save you. Be out to the trail, and I will replace you. Can't deny the prize, it may never fulfill you. It longs to kill you. Are you willing to die? The coldest blood runs through my veins. You know my name. 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 You know my name.
So we're back, and we're nearly at the end. This is our last time we're going to be having a little chat. We're going to say farewell and a few little things just to cover off before we go. But I just want to say a big thank you to everybody that's been watching. There's been lots of questions coming. We tried to answer a few and not drone on too much. Give you a bit of music mixed in with all the chat. But I will try and go through the questions later on and answer any that we haven't answered. But thank you so much for joining us, and we will be back next month with more of these. Hopefully try and make it a monthly thing with different presenters and what have you. And if you have enjoyed the music tonight and you want to find out more about the limited sort of CD collections that we've got, drop me an email at thelondonshowband@hotmail.com, or just contact me through the website cuethemusicshow.com. Or if you want to make if you've enjoyed tonight, it's been free, and if you feel that you want to make a donation, then it's not expected but would be very gratefully received. Just drop me an email. Very much appreciated. But I also want to say a big thank you to the four of you for coming, and also just tell people where they can find out more about yourselves, because starting with you, Reuben, that phenomenal artwork that we displayed earlier on, and I have to say my video probably didn't really, that I put together of it, didn't really do it justice actually. I highly recommend that people go and peruse through all of the beautiful pieces of work that you've got on display, and I think it's all on your website, isn't it?
It is, yeah. If you go to toysofbond.co.uk, you can find a link to the shop there. You can also spend many an hour looking through all of this kind of stuff, toys and collectibles and all of that jazz. And also on social media at Toys of Bond.
I'm looking forward to the lockdown being over so I can come down and peruse that collection with you, Reuben, and buy you another well overdue meal and a very, very large bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Joe,
forward to it.
Where can people check out Being James Bond?
BeingJamesBond.com, the new and improved website. Check it out. Please check it out, because it's a lot of years worth of stuff there, and it should be kind of just fun to just kind of click around
Peruse.
and see some of the stuff that we've been doing. Also, obviously, check us out on YouTube and check out the podcast wherever podcasts are available. Just look for Being James Bond. And I'll segue over to my good friend David because I got some things going on with him very soon.
Yeah, Dave,
We do.
Tell us about where people can find out about the Bond experience as well.
Probably the best bet is just go to YouTube and put in the Bond experience, and it should come up. And there's a little something for everybody there. It's not just about brands and lifestyle. There's location stuff, music, interviews, celebrities, etc. And this coming Saturday, what Joe was alluding to, is he and I are going to be running a No Time to Die happy hour, global happy hour at 4 p.m. Eastern. We haven't talked about No Time to Die. We have some new information that is not spoilers.
Yeah.
And we have some old information. We have some speculation, a lot of shuns. And we're going to be having some libations as well. But more importantly, it's going to be a way, we're going to be using our new technology that Joe introduced me to. So everybody in the chat room on YouTube is going to be able to intercept what we're talking about with their questions. It's actually a lot of fun. We'll be showing some videos. I cannot promise it will be spoiler free. Somebody asked that question, I see. Unfortunately, what happens in the chat room, anything goes. And we also have Harris Thomas joining us, and anything goes after 2 drinks with him. So we're gonna try to stay spoiler free, but mea culpa if we don't.
I think it's but it's also safe to say, I mean, we don't have any inside baseball that most people don't have at this point. So I mean,
Yeah.
if
That's
if
true.
it's out there, if you've seen the trailers, we don't know more than you do.
But there's a lot of things that came out that were kind of,
Yeah.
believe me, even people haven't seen the trailers. There are some
Yeah,
people
true.
like that, but you're
Yeah.
right. If you haven't seen the trailer, I'm sorry, we're going to spoil that for you.
Yeah, and there was some, and this is not, there are no spoilers coming up, but there were some horrible headlines that came out that were
Yes.
spoilers,
Sure.
and they were very hard to avoid. Even I was going spoiler free, and I couldn't.
Yeah, which
couldn't
we will not be
stand, so,
covering that.
Yeah,
I try to write off as saying that even the things that we saw in headlines, I don't know that they're even true. So
yeah, absolutely. Fingers
for
crossed.
all we know, they're throwing us curveballs and who knows what. So.
I have got one question about Saturday though. That there's no danger of it being delayed, is there? This stream is going to happen on Saturday. Come hell or high water.
It is. It's going to be delayed until September. Maybe you heard. I'm delighted to tell you it's going to be delayed. No, it's it should crack on.
Good, excellent. And Dan, I know you haven't got a Dan Booth website to promote us all
Yet.
with, but thank you very much. What have you got coming up? Have you got any gigs lined up? What's coming up for Dan?
Yeah, it's slowly starting to fill up the diary. So happy faces all round.
Yeah, there's no Cue the Music gigs in there though, is there? Yet we knew.
Unfortunately, not.
We're hopefully going to sort of try and find our way back in 2022. I think we'll see how things kind of pan out. We're just at the moment we're just stepping back and seeing how things work, because as I've made no secret, it's our show never makes a profit. So if we make a misstep and have a disaster a couple of shows, then that could be us. So we're just going to take it easy and tread gently. And I know that when we come back in, the support, the comments, even today and all the time, have been absolutely amazing. And I know that anyone watching, I know you're really desperate for us to get back in theatres at the first opportunity. And so are we. Believe us, we miss it. But we've got to make sure we do it sensibly. So I'm going to leave with one final choice. And Dan, you haven't actually had a choice yet. And when you told me what your choice was going to be, I was like, well, that can only go last. Nothing can follow it. So, and you've also stitched me up because I can't now save this up for any other concerts in this series. So once I've done it, it's done. What have you chosen and why?
So I chose License to Kill. A couple of reasons. One, I think it's a song that represents Cue the Music the best. I think when you think of Cue the Music, it's License. If someone asked me, what are Cue the Music, what do they do, what do they sound like, that would be the song I'd give them to listen to.
Yeah.
And second reason is I find it really hard to play. Not because it's technically difficult to play, but as soon as we start that song, the sound that's on stage is just amazing. I just want to stand and listen rather than actually playing. So yeah, wanted to share that one.
and Kerry's performance as well. Of course, it's you're not getting distracted by that emotion. And I actually have there's a few bits in the song where my part doesn't really matter, and there are on a few shows that we've done, the West End, I think probably in Piz Gloria, where I've just sacked my part off and thought no one's going to really notice if this part's missing, and I'm just going to enjoy it as the guy behind it all. I'm going to enjoy this moment and enjoy the watching people's faces, and I think a few people have said that that you have to kind of bring yourself back in and concentrate on your part for that song, because Kerry can really sweep you away with the emotion.
Yeah, she does a stellar job.
Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for your time, and thank you everybody for watching. We're going to leave you now with License to Kill, and we will see you at the end of April for another one of these. Hope you've enjoyed it, and see you soon. Cheerio.
Thank you, Warren.
Thank you.
Cheers,
Bye,
Warren.
thanks.
See you later, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
I feel like I got to hold on to your love. Hey, baby, I thought you were the one who tried to run away. Ooh, baby, what's another one who made you want to stay? Please don't bet that you'll ever escape me. Got to get my sights on you. Got a license to kill, and you know I'm going straight for your heart. Got a license to kill anyone who tries to tear us apart. License to Ooh, baby, think you need a friend to stand here by your side. Ooh, baby, now you can depend on me to make things right. Please don't bet that you'll ever escape me. Once I get my sights on